Hello and welcome to Math 1314. I had a question from a student that wanted to see how question number 8 and 9 on homework 8.3 and 7.5 were answered. Recall that this is the section on polynomial and rational inequalities. So question 8 says the graph of the function y equals f of x is given. Solve the inequalities. Write the solution set in interval notation if possible. So part 1 asks, where is f of x less than 0? So I'm going to go over here. I've copied it here. And part number 1 says, where is f of x less than 0? So less than 0 corresponds to being underneath the x-axis. You want to know when the y values are negative. So looking at my blue function, all of these values are underneath the x-axis. Those y values are less than 0. Starting here, these are all under the x-axis as well. They're less than 0. But it can't be equal to, so I do not want where it's equal to. All right, that's in 2 dimensions. I need to squish that back up onto the x-axis so I can see what x values that corresponds to. So all of this corresponds to, let me see if I can get it in a pen. All right, I can't be negative 1, but all the x values less than negative 1 produce y values that are negative. Over here, it can't be equal to 0 because that produces a y value of 0, but it can be all of these x values here. So my answer would be negative infinity. Sorry, one more. It would be negative infinity up to negative 1. It would not include negative 1. And then it would also be from 0 to infinity. Again, it cannot include 0. That's going to be a parenthesis. So back to my problem. The solution set would be negative infinity to negative 1. And do you have a union? And then 0 to infinity. Let's see if it takes that. Fill in all the empty boxes. Oh, I've still got to keep going. Okay, for part 2, notice that we added the equal to sign. All right, so let's go do this again. For part 2, it wants us to look at where is the function less than or equal to 0. Okay, where's it equal to 0? It's equal to 0 right here. So that's going to be part of our answer. Now the less than part, we saw before all of these x values and all of these x values. So the only difference in the answer for this one is that you include where it's equal to 0. I would do negative infinity to negative 1 and then bracket 0 to infinity. Okay, part 3, it's asking where is f of x greater than 0? Okay, part 3, where is the function greater than 0? This is asking where are the y values above the x-axis. All right, y values above the x-axis are here, right? So it can't be at -1, and then it also can't be at 0, but it's all of those x values between -1 and 0. And the last part is, where is it greater than or equal to 0? So where is f of x greater than or equal to 0? Okay, this is where it's greater than, the y values are above, and then it can also be equal to, so this time it's going to include that x value, but again, it can't include the asymptote. So I go from -1 to 0, including 0. So -1 to 0. Now I can check. All right, it doesn't like how I entered. Oh, I see why it doesn't like that. All right. There's the union that I needed. And then I want to go from 0 to, nope, to infinity. All right, in part 2, I needed to use that union. So now check. Good. All right, let's continue on to number 9. It says the graph of the function is given. Solve the inequalities. Let me go grab the graph. And number 1 says, where's f of x less than 0? So let's go with number 9. And this is part 1. Where is the function greater than 0? No, sorry, less than 0. All right. This is asking, where are the y values below the x-axis? Okay, y values below the x-axis. This part is below. That's on it. That's above it. That's on it. This part is below. All of this is above. So my answer, what x values does that correspond to? Not that one. Everything this way. Not this one. All of it here and not that one. All right. So that's going to correspond to x is less than -5. Negative infinity to -5 can't be -5. Union from 0 to 2. Now, I know that it's 2 because it tells me that asymptote is x equals 2. All right, let's go type that in. I want that, and over here, I want negative infinity, comma, -5, and then I want from 0 to 2. 0 to 2. All right. I bet next part wants me to find where's it less than or equal to 0. So going back to my graph, we said it was less than 0 here and here. Part 2, we want to know where is the function less than or equal to 0. So it's equal to 0 there, and it's less than 0 here and in between here. So I have negative infinity to -5. It can be -5 because it's equal to -5 there. And then it can be 0 up to 1. Oh, sorry, up to 2. Type that in. Negative infinity to -5, and then from 0 to 2. Where is it greater than 0? All right, I made it a little bit bigger. So part 3, he wants to know where is it greater than 0? All right, we said that it was less than 0 here, but it looks to be greater than 0 up here. And then it's greater than 0 here as well. All those y values are above the x-axis. All right, it can't be 0. It can't be equal to 0, so it's all of these x values. And then again, it starts here, and all of those x values are above, all those x values correspond to y values that are above the x-axis. So my answer would be -5 to 0, and then from 2 to infinity. -5 to 0, and then from 2 to infinity. And the last part, it wants you to find where is it greater than or equal to 0. Okay, where is the function? So this is part 4. Where is f of x greater than or equal to 0? I'm going to go do the equal part first. It's equal to 0 here and here. And then it's greater than 0. The y values are above the x-axis there and all of this. All those y values are above the x-axis. So what x values would those be? It's everything in here. And then it's all of this, but it can't be at the asymptote. So it's going to be from -5 to 0. And then again, starting at 2, but not including 2, to infinity. So real quick, what you're looking for, if you're wanting to know where's the function of greater than 0, you're wanting the y values that are above the x-axis. If you're wanting to know where's the function less than 0, you're wanting to know where's the function below the x-axis. All right, let's go put those in for our answer number 4. Would have -5 to 0, and then from 2 to infinity. And that's it. So hopefully that helped answer questions 8 and 9 on homework 8.3 and 7.5. Till next time.